So our first question comes to you from John and Sierra from Sewanee.
Okay.
They write in and say a quote we received to remediate mold in the basement of the house we're buying is $6,800. Although the seller agreed to handle, now he's balking because the price is so high. What should we do?
My advice I'm going to give you, Sierra, is probably different than what you think. And that is when you get an estimate to remove mold, to remediate mold, there's a saying, where there's mold, there's gold. And so you have to be real careful that you're not getting a price that is way too high.
All right.
And so my suggestion is before you start to try to force the seller to spend $6,800, let's focus, Alfie, on whether or not $6,800 is the right price to try to shove down the seller's throat. Now,
So basically, you should get different estimates, have a couple companies come out,
like
check it out.
3 or 4 estimates, not just 2 or 3. Once you make sure that you know exactly what needs to be done and the fair cost for doing it, and not ripping the seller off, then you need to force the seller. Because if the seller agreed to it in the amendment to address concerns for the property, then the seller is obligated to do it. If they don't, they're in default under the terms of the contract. And the way the contract is written, you would have the ability to pursue the seller for specific performance, meaning you would have the ability to attempt to force the seller to perform. Now, we'll give you another little tip. One of the best ways to get the seller to perform is that the seller, if they were in default, they would be obligated to pay the listing agent's commission and the buyer's agent's commission, regardless of whether they closed. And if you could convince your buyer broker, if you have one, to threaten action against the seller if they don't do what they're supposed to, it probably would get the wheels moving very, very quickly.
We got Sylvia Incoming, who writes, the agent I listed my home with has personal issues and she's not able to do what's necessary to sell my home. How can I switch to another agent? Seems pretty simple.
Well,
to me.
You say it seems pretty simple, but believe it or not, the standard listing agreement in the state of Georgia by the Georgia Association of Realtors does not allow a seller to terminate it. If you're not getting what you want from the agent, I would first have a conversation with that agent and tell the agent where you think, in this particular case, she is falling short, and give her very specific instructions about what she needs to do to solve the problem. If that doesn't work, and you want to terminate, I would go directly to that agent's broker. I will tell you, we allow all of our sellers the right to terminate our listing agreements at any time for any reason without any penalty. And it's just for this reason. We want to be in a balanced, Alfie, a balanced relationship with our sellers.